Hokage, Invincible Opening, Fury Konoha. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21 Susanu's artifact is invincible. Earth Escape? Art of Mountains and Earth. An Earth Escape ninjutsu with a learning difficulty of only B level. Listen to the name and see the grade. It seems that such an Earth Escape ninjutsu should be ordinary. It can't be compared with those powerful ninjutsu of A level and S level, right? However, it is such a ninjutsu in the hands of a strong man like Hwang Tu. Unexpectedly, it showed great power. Not only is it effective against ninjas, but even huge creatures of the tail beast level can be suppressed. Called the most a high-level movement blocking technique. It's almost no less powerful than the power of Great Fire Extinguisher in Master Ban's hands. Once upon a time, Rensley in Yenin village ran away and turned into a tailed beast. With this ninjutsu, Hwang Tu suppressed it all by himself. But if it is an ordinary ninja, once caught by this ninjutsu, I am afraid that it will be directly crushed by the terrifying pressure. Its power is not even weaker than the normal version of Earth Explosion Star. Obviously, Hwang Tu, who was forced to use such whole card ninjutsu, had indeed been cornered by Natsume. At this moment, the 100-meter large majestic hemisphere of rock and soil came in double team. It is indeed astonishing. A mere jounin from Yenin village was able to suppress the tailed beast with his own ninjutsu and resist the golem of the outside world for a while. Really extraordinary. Moreover, once such a huge stone is enveloped by it, there is no time to dodge it. No wonder Yenin village hid the lust so deeply. If it was another ninja village, knowing that Yenin village still has a ruthless character who can suppress tailed beasts at any time, I am afraid that he would have been restless for a long time. Of course, although this ninjutsu is overbearing. But for the current Natsume, it is not difficult to deal with. 8 Door Duanjia. Flying Thunder God Art. And many more. It is enough to break or avoid this ninjutsu. However, Natsume, who was so excited, still chose to fight head-on. Next moment. Boom. The two huge earth clods slammed together, and a shocking sonic boom erupted, and the loud noise was even heard several kilometers away. D. In the distance, Hwang Tu, who had completed the operation, was also panting. It is also quite stressful for him to release such a large-scale ninjutsu at one time. But fortunately, the enemy was finally trapped. It's just that I don't know if the enemy has been crushed into meatloaf. But want to come. This enemy's strength is terrifying, and he has a divine weapon, so it shouldn't be so easy to die suddenly. It's just that as long as you are trapped by your own mountain and soil technique. Even tailed beasts. After a while, I can't even think about getting out of trouble. Hwang Tu breathed a sigh of relief, slightly relaxing his tense heartstrings. But, the next moment. Don't wait for him to catch his breath. There was another loud cracking sound. Swipe DD. A bright and sharp blue light suddenly shot out from the huge earth ball in front of it. From the inside to the outside, cut a circle fiercely. And the incomparably hard rock earth giant ball is even more fragile like tofu under the bright knife light. With a slight tear, it was cut in half. Next second. A more dazzling blue light burst out from the crack in the giant ball. Then, a burly and tall sky blue demon god phantom suddenly exploded with a huge knife in his hand. Obviously, Natsume had already figured this out. And deliberately disguised his Susan color as that of a certain Runtu, misleading it. Swipe, D. The spirit tool, Kuan Dao, waved in Suzu's hand, like a world-destroying blade from the heavens. In an instant, the rock-earth giant ball was chopped into countless pieces. The lust seen in the distance was stunned, as if in a dream. Is this Susanoo? How come? Doesn't he only have one Sharingan? And, Susan, where did you get the weapon? Far away. Countless boulder fragments fell to the ground one after another, shaking countless dust. And Natsume, who was driving, Susanoo, also fell heavily to the ground, like a demon god falling from the sky, unstoppable. After this, Kuan Dao is turned into a spiritual weapon. It's amazing. It's much sharper than the long knife condensed with chakra before. The Susanoka divine artifact is really a perfect match. Well, it's time to end this farce. Natsume's heart froze, and he took a few steps out. The tall Suzuwa held the huge magic knife, and once again came out magnificently, slashed away, and went straight to the loss in the distance. For a while, there was only boundless wind and waves rolled up by the giant knife. He blew the loss until his scalp became numb and his heart was terrified. Earth Dungeon? Earth Flow Wall? Earth Escape? Earthquake Core? Earth Escape? Hardening. Huangtu hurriedly performed ninjutsu. Several layers of rock and soil defenses were extended on his side, almost draining his little chakra left. However, the defensive power of more than 10 earthen walls rose in an instant. Compared with Danzo, who is not good at earth escape, the defense built at the beginning is much stronger. If Natsume used the previous chakra broadsword, it might not be able to split all of them with one blow. Unfortunately. This time, these thick earth escape defenses. Under the power of Susanoo, under the sharp edge of Kuan Shindao. Simply vulnerable. All of them were easily chopped off on the spot. It's even smoother than a knife cut butter. And just when the blade was about to hit the loss, Natsume also changed instantly, staggered the edge of the blade, and only hit the loss with the blade horizontally. Huangtu was not killed directly. After all, seriously injuring Huangtu and killing Huangtu are completely two concepts. After all, this guy is also the son of the third generation of Tsuchikage. If you really kill the other party, you will have a death feud with Yenin Village. Although I am not afraid of Hidden Rock Village. But now, my Yenin Village has just been newly built, and my biggest enemy is still Konoha. Before Konoha is destroyed, it is not worthwhile to have too many feuds with other ninja villages. Moreover, this loss is quite strong. If he is encouraged to attack Konoha in the future, it will definitely bring a big surprise to Konoha. Of course, this heavy knife hit Huangtu hard. Although it didn't take his life directly. But he also beat the lust to a point where all his bones were broken, and he flew upside down tens of meters before falling down suddenly. You know, he also activated the hardening technique, which hardened his body to be harder than a rock, greatly reducing the damage of physical attacks. But he was still beaten to half his life, which shows the power of this knife. Seeing that Huangtu was in a coma, he completely lost his fighting power. Only then did Natsume release Susan, and put away the magic sword. And while rubbing his somewhat sore eyes, he laughed happily. This time, he was basically sure. Driving Susan and holding a magic knife, he can already be regarded as a half-invincible existence. Go back and transplant the intercolumn cells again to obtain infinite battery life. I can basically walk sideways in most of the ninja world. Sure enough, the feeling of having absolute power is really great. Soon. After the fun was over, Natsume also remembered the business. Then, he performed ninjutsu again. Word binding? Explosion. The word explosion flew out in an instant, and landed on the dungeon where the teammates were trapped by the earth escape cast by Huangtu in the distance. Boom DD. The dungeon was broken open, revealing the dazed Iwagakure ninja inside. Having released the control of the illusion, he couldn't help being dazed when he saw the messy and terrifying battlefield outside and the defeated Lus lying in a coma in the distance. Hey! Iwagakure ninja over there. Huangtu has already been defeated, hurry back and bring reinforcements. Tell that old boy Inoki. I'll just wait here, and when he comes, I'll smash his dog's head off. Natsume roared arrogantly, with a murderous aura all over his body. The Iwagakure ninja's legs went limp in fright. Seeing that the mighty Captain Huangtu was defeated, how dare he hesitate? He hurriedly crawled out of the dungeon, and fled towards Yenin village. Ready to go back for support. Episode 22 The Leg Shadow of the Future. Did you lose this pair of black stockings? Or this pair of white stockings? Seeing that Yenin ninja escape, Natsume finally came to Huangtu's side. I checked, this guy with rough skin and thick flesh will not die in a while. In fact, the reason why he beat Huangtu violently was not because Natsume was full and had nothing to do. Mainly. One reason, I want to exercise my muscles and bones, confirm my current general strength, and test the power of Kuan Dao. Second, if you don't beat the little one to the ground, how can you trick that old guy from Yenin village, Onaji out? If I don't lure that old guy out, how can I drop by the view vault in the village? To put it bluntly, this is nothing more than tune the tiger away from the mountain. Moreover, even if it is a conspiracy, it is also a conspiracy. Even if Inoki really saw through, he had no choice but to come. A powerful lust that can suppress tailed beasts is very important to Rinnegan village. In addition, this is the other party's own son, and he is not afraid that the other party will not submit. Shadow clone technique. Boom D.D. The white mist exploded, and Natsume separated a shadow clone and stayed in place. Then, the main body glanced back. The corner of his mouth raised slightly. Then set off immediately and sneaked towards Rinnegan village. As for the place Natsume glanced at just now, a pure white snake was hiding in a crack in the rock, peeping secretly tremblingly. Obviously, how could Orochimaru, that old bastard, miss a battle that was both exciting and able to find out Natsume's true strength? That's when a white snake clone was left long ago, hiding there. Natsume didn't care about that either. At this stage, the stronger one's own strength is, the more fearful Dashuin is towards him. It is more conducive to the cooperation between Rinnegan village and Rinnegan village. After all, you still need to be hard on your own to strike an iron. The other side. The Rinnegan village ninja who was desperately fleeing escaped back to the village in less than 10 minutes. The breaking news of the enemy invaded, the lust was defeated, and life was in danger was told to the current third-generation Hokage Inoki. Hearing that his son was defeated, and his life was still in his hands, Inoki was also in a hurry. He is clear about the strength of his son Huangtu. Looking at the entire Rinnegan village, except for himself, almost no one is his opponent. How could it be so easy to lose to a traitor from the Yi Shao organization? And why did the people from Shao happen to appear here and rescue the spy? Countless doubts arose in Inoki's heart. However, this is not the time to consider these issues. Huangtu's life was at stake. Haitu is still young. I can't let that girl lose her father right now. Thinking of this, Inoki didn't dare to hesitate. Quickly led the guards, rushed out of the village, and rushed towards the incident. Soon, Inoki and the others had only left for a few minutes. Taking advantage of the darkness, another short figure sneaked into the village. And bypassing the guards all the way, sneaking towards the village treasury behind the tying office building. The guard of the treasury is not strict, and there are only 2 symbolic guards in the treasury. After all, this is the hinterland of Rinnegan village, and it is close to the tying building. If anyone could defeat Master Tsuchikage, they would come here in a surprise attack. It is estimated that the entire Rinnegan village is not far from extinction. Now, the figure lurking here seems to be quite familiar with the surrounding building terrain. He was hiding behind a dark corner, carefully observing the guards in the attic of the treasury. Within a few seconds, he had a plan in his mind and was ready to act. But, at this moment, behind him, a delicate little hand suddenly appeared, but suddenly patted on his shoulder. Scared him half to death. "Brother, what are you doing here?" Deidara turned around suddenly, and was relieved when he saw his junior sister Haitu behind him. "Hey, Black Soil. You scared me to death. Why did you sneak into the village again? If Grandpa finds out, he will lose his temper again." Haitu, who is only 8 years old, already has quite a personality. At this moment, he was crossing his arms, reprimanding him seriously, his senior brother who always loves to make trouble. In fact, it was because of frequent disturbances in the village and experiments with various clay bombs that caused considerable losses. Last year, 9-year-old Deidara was forced to move out of the village and live on the outskirts of the village. Without Inoki's instructions, he was not allowed to enter the village at will. "I can't sleep, so I'll go into the village for a walk." Deidara smiled awkwardly. Of course, he would not take the initiative to admit that he had discovered that the old man Inoki had left the village suddenly. Only then did he seize the opportunity and prepare to go into the village to make a fortune. After all, he is currently studying new ninjutsu, and his money is really tight. "Bah. Brother, can you make up a decent lie? It looks like you're trying to do something bad again." Haitu scolded angrily, wishing he could strangle this troublesome brother to death. It's a pity that although this guy is not serious, but his talent in ninjutsu is indeed very high. Even Grandpa often praised him. He often compares him with himself, which makes Haitu want to beat someone up. "Hush. Keep your voice down. It's you, why are you here?" Deidara covered Haitu's mouth and asked in a low voice. "In the evening, Dad was called out by Grandpa, and he hasn't come back yet. Mom called me to come to tying building to ask Grandpa, so that Dad can go home early." Black Soil explained. I don't know where my dad went. It's still so late. I'm afraid that if I go back tonight, my angry mother will have to make my father kneel on the washboard again. Brother. Tell me honestly, are you trying to plan for the treasury? Hush. You can't talk nonsense about this. Deidara panicked and quickly argued. Give me half. What? You don't divide me in half, I will yell now, so that you can't get a point. The immature Haito showed a pure smirk and threatened mercilessly. Although he is not as talented as this senior in ninjutsu. But she still learned a little bit about Grandpa Anoki's negotiating and threatening methods. Black soil, you. Do you want to do it? If you don't do it, I will call someone. Dry. Deidara gritted his teeth and agreed to cooperate. Then. The two quietly poked their heads out again and probed the defense of the vault. Haito, I will break through in a while and knock out the two guards. Climb up from the edge of the attic behind the vault and release the wind for me. If anyone comes, notify me immediately. Deidara began to arrange tactics. It is good. Get ready, 3, 2, 1, do it. Deidara was the first to rush out and quickly approached the two guards by taking advantage of the blind spot in the dark night. At the same time, flip your hands over. Several small clay spiders with paralyzing toxin also shot out suddenly and rushed towards the guard. In this way, relying on the unexpected surprise attack, Deidara, who was very strong, easily knocked out the two guards. And quickly pushed open the door and flashed into the vault with a look of excitement. And the rear. The petite Haito also hastily followed with a pair of strong and long legs. Jump up. Grab the attic railing on the second floor of the vault and prepare to climb up. If I don't hurry up, I'm afraid that idiot Shige will embezzle more than half of my share. However, just as she climbed up to the attic on the second floor, the small shoe on her right foot was rubbed off. As a last resort, Haito had no choice but to jump back to the first floor, dimpled angrily, fumbling for his shoes on the gray ground. After finally touching the shoes, I looked up. But suddenly found out. Unexpectedly, there was a strange figure in front of him. The other party was wearing a mask. He was not tall, and his breath was restrained. He couldn't tell whether he was good or bad. But his hands are strangely holding a few silky stockings. And with a seductive voice, he smiled at himself and asked. Legs from the future. Did you drop the black stockings? Or the white stockings? Or the fishnet stockings? Black soil, oh? Episode 23 Looting the Vault and Deceiving Tying. Haito blinked his big bright eyes with a confused look on his face. After a while, he suddenly reacted. You are not a ninja from Iwakakushi. Who are you? What do you want to do? Haito hurriedly asked loudly to cover up the panic in his heart. After all, she is just an 8-year-old girl at the moment. Natsume smiled slightly. As soon as he arrived here, he saw this future leg shadow groping for something on the ground. Only then did he get excited and couldn't help but come out and make a joke. Teased each other. Don't worry, I haven't perverted to the point where I don't even let young girls go. No matter what, we have to wait for the other party to develop for a few more years. Don't get excited, I'm not here to kill people today. Do not worry. At this time, in the attic of the vault, Deidara also seemed to hear the noise outside. Hello? Junior sister, what is that voice? Who are you talking to? Brother. There are enemies, come out quickly. Black soil jumped violently. While backing away, he yelled. But before she could finish her words, she saw the figure in front of her suddenly swaying and disappeared in place. Subsequently, I felt a numbness in the back of my neck and passed out on the spot. Obviously, although this little girl is quite strong. But for the current Natsume, it is still too weak. Not even a Chunin level, so he was knocked unconscious by one move. Next moment, Natsume put the black soil on the ground. Inside the vault, the anxious Deidara also rushed out. But, before he could see what was happening outside, his field of vision was enveloped by a pair of scarlet Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Time is chaotic, space is shifted, consciousness is sinking. Before he knew it, Deidara, who didn't even release the clay bomb, was controlled by the illusion of Sharingan and fell into a deep sleep. This kid is really not good at dealing with illusion. At such a young age, He has paid attention to the treasury of his own village. He is also a talent. Looking at Didera, who was sleeping on the ground, Natsume sighed slightly. Then, this excitedly stepped into the treasury of Yenin village. Prepare to take some souvenirs back with you. Entering the vault, the smell of a large amount of money rushed towards him. It makes people breathe a little easier, and their hearts are hot. Although the geographical location is closed, the treasury reserves of Yenin village, which is not good at business, are indeed inferior to the treasury of Konoha. But anyway, it is also one of the 5 hidden villages, and its silver reserves are not small. Look around. Let alone nearly 100 million taels. It seems that he can make a fortune again. Next moment. Apart from anything else, Natsume pulled out several space scrolls that had been prepared. They began to sweep up wantonly, and the silver taels on the 2 floors were full. Now it seems that these space scrolls drawn from the system are quite useful. An intermediate scroll can hold 20 million taels. And it is easy and portable, which is much more convenient than carrying a few big bags of silver on your back. Soon, Natsume filled up 2 intermediate and 6 primary space scrolls. Almost half of the silver taels in the treasury were swept away, a full 70 million taels. Only over 20 million yuan was left for Yenin village. I don't know, when that old boy Onaji finds out, will he be pissed to death? Well, then it's none of your business. At least, I left some for Yenin village. Not too much, right? After finishing the scrolls, Natsume was ready to leave with a full load. Also suddenly remembered something. He quickly took out a kunai, and left his Flying Thunder God art imprint on it. Then, with a light leap, he hid the kunai behind the beam above the vault. It's rare to come here, so you have to leave some gifts. If this imprinted kunai is discovered, it will be fine. If not found. If I have time in the future, can't I teleport over from time to time for a stroll? Come to think of it, the hospitable Yenin village would definitely not refuse my kind visit, right? That's it, after leaving a good mark. Natsume didn't stay any longer, and directly activated the Flying Thunder God technique, following the mark left before, and teleported away. It disappeared into the vault in an instant, as if it had never been there. Of course, except for the nearly half of the treasury that was emptied. Now. It was only 5 minutes since Anoki received the news. And the 3rd-generation Hokage, who was so anxious, flew over 10 minutes at top speed, and arrived at the place where Natsume and Huangtu fought fiercely before. Sure enough, I saw a person wearing a mask and a red cloud robe, waiting here. Next moment. Seeing his son was beaten and bruised, he passed out on the ground. The enraged Anoki didn't say a word of nonsense. Attack directly. Facing Natsume's clone, he started to do it. All kinds of earth escape ninjutsu surged out overwhelmingly, which was truly terrifying. It is indeed an old beast that has survived since the Warring States period, although it is not as powerful as Huangtu in the earth escape ninjutsu of Shantujishu. Yes, on the whole. Onaji's control over ninjutsu, release speed, flexibility, etc., are far superior to Huangtu's. Even without counting his dust dungeon, known as the strongest spear. This guy's comprehensive strength is at the upper middle level in the past dynasties of the 5 great hidden villages. One after another, the earth escape ninjutsu was too numerous to deal with. Plus that unique ability to fly. It stopped directly at high altitude and continuously bombarded Natsume's clone with ninjutsu. A normal ninja without the ability to attack from a long range is almost incomprehensible against him. What's more, Anoki seems to be invincible. Certainly. It is also mainly because Natsume's avatar has just experienced a fierce battle with Huangtu, and there are not many chakras left, only a little over 2 cards. In addition, the main body took away Kuin Dao. And all kinds of abilities and ninjutsu that are easy to reveal their identities are not convenient to use. Only then did he deal with it with his hands tied, and was suppressed by Anoki the whole time. Otherwise, if Natsume's body is here, directly open Susanoo, and hold the magic sword. That's probably because Anoki was chased and beaten. Damn it. A mere rebel from the Nishao organization dares to confront me, Yenin village. You wanna die? Anoki let out a loud bang, with strong anger in his eyes. The seal speed of both hands is 3 points faster, and the offensive is also stronger. During this period of time, the 5 hidden villages basically didn't pay much attention to rebellious organizations like Shao. Of course, as the third-generation Hokage. After 3 Ninja World Wars, Inoki, who had a wealth of experience, was not engulfed by anger. Instead, while attacking, he looked for the enemy's weaknesses and flaws. To kill the enemy with one hit. After all, the enemy in front of him is indeed powerful. I have already fought the opponent for dozens of rounds, but I barely gained the upper hand. The strength of this person is by no means inferior to the 5 shadows. Look at the entire ninja world. I have never heard of such a powerful rebellion in any family. What's more, the other party's signature blood succession boundary Sharingan has never been used. This can't help but make Inoki even more fearful, secretly on guard. In this way, after fighting for a while, the clone of Natsume, who has almost exhausted the remaining chakra, also estimates that the time is almost up. Next moment, under Inoki's astonished eyes, he suddenly gave up resisting. Let a large number of rock guns protruding from the ground penetrate it. How come? Why did he give up resistance? Is it really because of exhaustion of chakra? Seeing the enemy being pierced, Inoki was also startled suddenly, unable to believe it. Yes, the next moment, the enemy's figure exploded into a cloud of white mist and disappeared invisible. This is Shadow Clone Technique? Inoki exclaimed. Staring into the distance, his eyes were bulging, and his eyes almost popped out. He has seen a lot of Konoha's Shadow Clone Technique, and it is indeed very subtle and difficult to distinguish. But he never thought of it. The enemy who fought with him for so long, and beat him to the ground, turned out to be just a shadow clone. This is so fucking annoying. However, if the avatars are so strong, wouldn't the strength of the opponent's body be even more terrifying? And many more. If the opponent only left a clone to delay me, then his body. Not good. I was cheated. The opponent's target is their own village. Inoki, who suddenly came to his senses, was horrified and regretted. Thanks to the fact that I still bear the title of 2-day scale, and I am the one with the highest seniority among the current 5 shadows, I haven't even seen through this little trick. I am really eager to save people, I am confused. Damn it. I hope nothing will happen to the village. Inoki let out a resentment, grabbed the loss on the ground, and hurriedly prepared to retreat and return to Insuin. But at this moment, in the distance, a handful of inconspicuous Kimura stuck in the crevice of the rock. A figure suddenly flashed. Episode 24. Your granddaughter is very moist. Yo. Inoki, are you tired? Natsume shook the backpack behind him and the 70 million in it. He smiled and greeted Inoki, who was about to leave in the distance. I have to admit, even leaving aside the battle, this Flying Thunder God art is only used for rushing, and it is even more effective. The journey of more than 10 kilometers arrived in an instant. Save time a lot. It just consumes a lot of chakra. According to my current chakra amount, if I go back and forth 2 or 3 times, I will be drained. It seems that he has to increase his chakra upper limit a little more. The other side. Listen to the mocking sound from behind. Inoki also turned around abruptly. Only then did I realize that the body of the enemy who fought against me before had suddenly appeared. This is instant body technique? No, there was obviously no one around just now. No matter how fast the instant body technique is, it is impossible to span a distance of thousands of meters in an instant. It is in an instant. Wait, what's under his feet? Kunai? Difficult. Yes, it is, Flying Thunder God technique? Inoki exclaimed suddenly. Even though almost 10 years have passed, he still will not forget. That Konoha yellow flash was born out of nowhere, overwhelming the appearance of an entire era. Relying on the extreme speed brought by the Flying Thunder God art, almost no one can beat it. In the entire Third Ninja World War, there were no fewer than 100 Iwagakure ninjas who died in the hands of that guy alone. Among them are the elites of Yen-In, such as East Deadman and Magic Leech. It was also because of that great battle that the hatred between Owain and Konoha has been incomprehensible to this day. Even, it was because of the existence of the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. Forcing Inoki himself to sit in Yen-In village, he dared not go out to participate in the war. I'm afraid that the other party will directly Flying Thunder God and steal my hometown. It is enough to see that a ninja who controls such a powerful S-level spacetime ninjutsu is a threat. That is definitely a nightmare for all enemies. And now, after 8 years. Could it be that Konoha has produced another terrifying ninja who has mastered the Flying Thunder God art? Inoki didn't dare to think deeply. But, look at that kunai, look at that speed. In all likelihood, it is really Flying Thunder God art. If the other party is really a Konoha ninja, he might be the future 5th Hokage. At that time, the entire ninja world will be overwhelmed by him again. Such a formidable enemy, we must get rid of it as soon as possible. If I activate Dust Dungeon by surprise, I might not be without the possibility of a one-hit kill. For a moment, Inoki's old wrinkled face changed several times. I was struggling and weighing in my heart. In any case, he doesn't want to see it anymore. I saw a yellow flash burst out from the ninja world. What's more, it is very likely to belong to Konoha. You, who are you? Inoki roared angrily, and secretly prepared for a decisive blow. Old boy, are you thinking about how to kill me now? Stop wasting your efforts. I'm leaving, see you soon. By the way, I forgot to mention. Your granddaughter is very moist. The treasury of your village is even more moist. Ha ha ha. Natsume laughed. Without hesitation, with a flick of his body, he activated the Flying Thunder God art again and left the place in an instant. All that needs to be done has been done. He didn't want to stay here anymore, facing Inoki's dust escape. Even though, there is a 90% probability that that thing won't hit me at all. Seeing the enemy leave in an instant, he was powerless to stop himself. Inoki was even more depressed, and had no choice but to stop the ninjutsu in his hand. At the same time, I remembered what the other party said before leaving. Not good. In the village, the black soil and the treasury have all been murdered? Inoki's expression changed instantly. He hurriedly carried the loss on his back and flew towards the village, not daring to stay for a moment. Whether it's his granddaughter Haitu or the village's treasury, they are all his heart and soul, and there is no room for loss. That's it. 20 minutes later. The tying personal guards went around the village outside the village in search of Onagi's breath, and finally went back to the village. And at the door of the vault attic in his village, he found Inoki. At this moment, the third generation of Hokage was hugging his granddaughter Kuroto while pressing his waist. His eyes were empty, and he leaned against the door with a dull expression. And in front of him was his own treasury that had been almost emptied. Fortunately, only the vault was stolen. His granddaughter Haita seems to be fine. Otherwise, this third Hokage would have to be pissed off tonight. But, Rao is so. The entire Hidden Rock village has suffered a lot tonight. Especially the treasury was stolen, and most of the silver was stolen. If this news gets out, the already fragile economy in the village may plummet by several % again. Ever since. Holding on to the last ounce of energy, Inoki had no choice but to ask the personal guards to block the vault and news, and rush to treat him with Wangtu, Haitu, Didala and others. The night is getting darker. Fortunately, most of the fighting took place outside the village. Not many casualties were caused in Yenin village. The whole village is fairly quiet. Of course, many well-informed high-level ninjas began to be busy overnight. That's it. An hour later, Inoki, who had a short rest, summoned the village senior management again. Quickly narrated a series of important events that happened tonight. Huang Tu, Xiao Hei Tu, how are their injuries? Inoki's face darkened. Huang Tu's injuries are serious. His bones are broken and a large area of his muscles are damaged. Fortunately, there is no danger of his life, but at least he needs to recuperate for a month or two. Haitu and the others didn't suffer any injuries, they just passed out. Will the intruder show mercy? A consultant asked. Inoki nodded, it should be. But it is not ruled out that it was intentional. After all, killing them will only anger us, Yenin village, even more. Unexpectedly. Not only did the spies escape. Even the village treasury was stolen. 3 generations of adults, the loss this time is not small. Inoki, I know. The top priority is to block the news and make up for the lack of the treasury as soon as possible. Shouldn't troops be dispatched immediately to recover the stolen silver tails? Inoki glanced at the daimyo envoy angrily, and said calmly, the other party has mastered the space-time ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. Do you think anyone can catch up to him? Ah. Flying Thunder God art? How is this possible? Isn't Konoha's yellow flash dead? Is it possible that another one has appeared? Anoki, it's still uncertain. That person is wearing the clothes of the rebellious ninja organization, Akatsuki, has Sharingan, and is very powerful. Hearing this, the rest of Yanin's high-level officials were also shocked, and quickly started arguing. Could it be that Xiao did this? Impossible. How can a mere rebellious ninja organization have the guts to attack the 5 great hidden villages? And the spy had just escaped, and the other party rescued him by such a coincidence. If it's just a rebellious organization, it's impossible to maintain such a tight spy intelligence network. Behind this incident, there must be several other hidden villages manipulating it. The so-called Xiao is just used to deceive people. Even, it can't be ruled out that Konoha entrusted Akatsuki to pick up that spy. After all, apart from Konoha, there is no Flying Thunder God art in the other great ninja villages. Don't forget, that member of Akatsuki possesses the limit of blood inheritance of Sharingan. Looking at the ninja world, Konoha is the most suspect. So, isn't the Uchiha clan who recently defected from Konoha also very suspicious? It's a joke, those guys defected to Konoha, and they are probably too busy to take care of themselves. Where is the energy to plot against us, Yanin village? So, Konoha really did it? Anoki quietly watched the argument of several people, while enduring the pain in his back, while feeling helpless. But, I have to admit, this matter, no matter from which angle you look at it, is Konoha's biggest suspicion. Spy, Sharingan, Flying Thunder God art, all have something to do with Konoha. If there is no shadow of Konoha in this matter, the dog will not believe it. After a while, Anoki interrupted. Calm down. Even if it's related to Konoha, without direct evidence, it's not easy for us to have an attack. This matter must be investigated, and it will not be too late to discuss it after finding decisive evidence. In short, no matter who it is, how dare to plot against this old man? This is courting death. Anoki pinched his long beard and blew on his beard, clapping angrily. Then, the plan to surprise Konoha. The spies are all gone. The plan has been exposed, so we have to give up. Do you have any objections? Anoki scanned the crowd and questioned. Yanin village is different from Konoha. Anoki, who combines strength, status, seniority, and prestige, has complete decision-making power. It's much better than Konoha's split leadership. No. Then let's do this first, the meeting is over. Episode 25 Harvest and Return. At this moment, in a deserted forest more than 50 miles away from Yanin village, Natsume's figure suddenly flashed. Calling D.D. Natsume, who teleported here by the Flying Thunder God technique, let out a long breath. Slightly shaking his head, he relieved the nausea caused by the long-distance space transition. Obviously, he who has just mastered this space-time ninjutsu is still not very proficient. Need to get familiar with slowly. At the same time, several fierce battles, long-distance raids, continuous use of space-time ninjutsu, etc. also almost exhausted Natsume's chakra. Otherwise, I just stopped by and beat that old boy Onaji again. How can I leave directly? Now. Taking advantage of the darkness, Natsume jumped onto a big tree at will. Secretly perceive a circle. After confirming that there was no one else around, he sat down cross-legged. Knocked down 2 dawn that restored chakra, and quickly recovered a small half of chakra. This is the ninja world, full of dangers. At any time, Natsume must maintain a certain combat power and a certain chakra reserve. A ninja without chakra is like a tiger without claws. Even a ninja who is good at physical arts, without the strengthening of chakra, his strength will be greatly reduced. After watching so many famous dramas and movies in the previous life, Natsume didn't want to capsize the boat in the gutter himself. After a few minutes, Natsume felt relieved after recovering his combat power. And counted the harvest tonight. 1. It's a good thing to mention 2 medical ninjas, Do and No Nayu. 2. The treasury of Yanin village was looted, and 70 million taels of silver were brought back, which was converted into 7,000 gold coins, which made a lot of money. Not only the 7,000 gold coins can allow him to spend another wave in the system to strengthen his strength. The free 70 million taels alone can greatly relieve the economic pressure of their own, Rinnegan village, which is enough to speed up the infrastructure construction of many villages and guarantee the basic necessities of the people. Of course, these are material gains on the bright side. In addition to material gains, other stealth aspects also benefited a lot. Among them, the biggest aspect is to let Konoha and Shao resist this big scapegoat for themselves. Action tonight. From clothing, to behavior, to all verbal cues. During the whole process, Natsume deliberately pretended to be someone from Akatsuki, and she was the kind who had a close relationship with Konoha. In the end, even the flying thunder god technique was exposed to Inoki. Show off in front of each other. It is to direct the suspicion and anger of Rinnegan village to Konoha. Believe it, Rinnegan, who already has hatred for Konoha. After tonight, there must be even more resentment. In the future, as long as I light the flame a little bit, I will definitely attract Rinnegan village to fight Konoha. Let yourself and Rinnegan village watch the fire from the other side, and reap the benefits of being a fisherman. The other side. It also exposed the threat and strength of Shao. Thinking about it, in the future, a certain Brother Tozi wearing a red cloud robe and a mask will appear in the sight of Rinnegan village ninjas. It must be a good entertainment. Tut tut tut. Let's mourn for Brother Tozi for half a second. After sorting out the harvest, make sure there is nothing left over. Natsume also set off immediately, heading towards his home Rinnegan village. It's been out for over a day. It's time to go back quickly. I hope nothing happened in the village. Dusk the next day. Natsume, who was full of travel and dust, finally rushed back to her village. In the past 2 days, the village was peaceful. All the clansmen, under the leadership of several clan elders, are constructing the new village in full swing and thriving. Visible to the naked eye. Compared with the flimsy appearance when he first arrived, he is much more colorful. Even on Main Street, several snack bars have opened up, and several elderly people are happily selling various snacks and sweets, which are sought after and loved by a group of children. If they were still staying in Konoha, such a warm scene would certainly not have happened. There, any gathering of more than 3 Uchihas will be secretly monitored by Konoha. It's no wonder that so many Uchiha people were forced to rebel and defect. Sure enough, it was a wise choice for me to lead my family to defect to Konoha. After Natsume came back, he discovered that Orochimaru and Do had not returned yet. This is not surprising. After all, I was alone, and I was traveling very fast. There are 2 oil bottles on the other side, so it is normal to be slower. Moreover, I have seen the power of my own Suzuki sword. In a short period of time, it is estimated that Orochimaru will hardly have a rebellious intention. But there is no need to worry. Soon, Natsume quietly flashed back to her residence. Young Patriarch. You are back. Uchiha Nikio, who was on duty seriously, was suddenly overjoyed after seeing Natsume's return, and was very happy. In the days when there is no young patriarch in charge, the strength makes people feel uneasy. Well, is the village all right? Everything is fine. That's good. By the way, where's the mooncake guy? Natsume looked around for a week, only to realize that the little fat bear of the mooncake was gone. Oh. Lord Mooncake is taking a bath in the backyard. Taking a bath? You also built a hot spring pool? This is Master Mooncake's request. In addition, once we think about it, you can relax when you come back, young patriarch. So, I simply repaired one. Rieo hesitated and hawed, a little embarrassed. You. The village hasn't been built yet, so you just make all these bells and whistles. And that guy, Mooncake, he's become more courageous. He'll make you all arouse. Xiaomoop scolded with a laugh. He was not really angry, after all, it was all the kindness of the clansmen. And, after a long trek home, it is really comfortable to be able to soak in the hot spring and relax. Isn't this one of the quality life I pursue? Okay, now that I'm back, there's nothing to worry about. You go down first. By the way, for the next 2 days, you and the vine outside will not be on duty for the time being. You should also take 2 days off to rest and rest. No. Young patriarch, we don't argue, do it obediently. and the village has just started, and your family needs your help, so don't ink it. This, all right. Ri Yao's heart warmed up, and he quickly agreed without being shy. Then he retreated. Moreover, they all know the strength of the young patriarch. Although these guards are on duty here, it is not certain who will protect who. After sending Sun Yao off, Natsume also came to the backyard. Sure enough, just went in. I felt a burst of hot spring heat rushing towards my face, which made my pores relax, and I couldn't help but relax a bit. Meanwhile, the warm edge of the pool. The palm-sized mooncake was also soaking in the hot spring comfortably and nibbling on a fresh bamboo shoot. It seems that the whole cat life is full of comfort. Damn it, this panda enjoys it more than I do. Natsume took off her clothes and jumped into the hot spring directly. Splash big G water. The mooncakes on the edge of the pool were poured into a drowned chicken. Who is disturbing my uncle to take a bath? Mooncake was startled, roaring with bared teeth and claws. Damn it, it's you. You came back so quickly. Master Mooncake, you really know how to enjoy it. After soaking for so long, is it cooked? Natsume laughed and joked. Smelly brat, what are you talking about? How can I know you well? You splashed water all over me, and I haven't settled with you yet. How dare you be so rude to me? Just wait, this uncle will come here and tear you apart. Mooncake let out a roar. First carefully put away the half-eaten bamboo shoots. Then, he swam towards Natsume with all his teeth and claws. It's a pity that only the palm-sized mooncakes only swam to half of the pool. It seems more and more powerless. After a while, he struggled thumpingly and sank slowly. All that's left is a string of air bubbles. Natsume glanced at Mooncake. The comfortable hot spring also made him too lazy to quarrel with this panda. As a psychic beast, it can't really drown anyway. Ever since, he involuntarily spread out his body and soaked in hot water to soothe his tired body. At the same time, take advantage of this relaxing gap. Sinking consciousness into the system again, ready to start a new round of Splurge. Episode 26, 35 cards. Ding, congratulations, you have won. Point value point. Excuse me, do you want to recharge? Value points, exchanged for 7,000 gold coins? Recharge successful. Congratulations. Obtained 7,000 gold coins. Current balance, 7,040 gold coins. Host, Natsume. Attributes, fire, water, wind, thunder, earth, een. Chakra, 9 calories. Ninjutsu, flying thunder god jutsu, S level. Space-time ninjutsu, 8 gates Duinjia formation, S level. Body jutsu, spiritualization art, S level. Soul ninjutsu, dark walking art, A level. Illusion, triple Rashomon, class A. Necromancer, shuriken shadow clone jutsu, A class. Ninjutsu, shadow clone jutsu, B class. Clone art. Blood succession boundary, Sharingan, kaleidoscopic. Physique, millennium kill, Konoha whirlwind. Special skill, the method of chakra extraction. Special weapon, knife. Current balance, 7,040 gold coins. Natsume first sorted out his basic information. Just looking at this dazzling array of personal templates makes me feel happy. Who would have thought, 3 months ago? I am just a low-level trainee ninja who has just turned 10 years old and has not even opened the Sharingan. But now, he has mastered 3 S-level ninjutsu, 3 A-level ninjutsu, and a lot of other ninjutsu. He has opened the kaleidoscopic Sharingan, holds an artifact, and his combat power is almost approaching the super shadow level. Strong. And all this, in addition to their own efforts. It's also thanks to the almighty and powerful system father, right? In order to accumulate some luck, Natsume licked without any confidence. If a system is really autonomous. I'm afraid now already started to castigate and curse, Natsume is a scumbag host. After mastering a lot of mana-intensive ninjutsu and going through Yenin village, Natsume also felt more and more that his total chakra was insufficient. If there is enough chakra, I didn't have to travel thousands of kilometers to rush back from Land of Earth. A flying thunder god teleported directly back to his village. How fast, how good. Ever since, after entering the system, Natsume didn't exchange for other items, and spent 2,600 gold coins directly. A chakra limit of 26 cards has been exchanged. Pushed up his total chakra amount to a full 35 calories. That is, the total amount of chakra of 35 elite jounin. Although, this amount is still not comparable to that of the Uzumaki clan or those tailed orc Chiriki. But in the film class, it can be regarded as the upper middle level. Calculated based on the fact that one card can release 6 to 8 A-level ninjutsu. Even the mana-intensive, Flying Thunder God art is enough for him to use it dozens of times in a short distance. Moreover, by the way, it also increased his pupil power by a large amount. When you open Susanoo in the future, you don't have to count the minutes and seconds carefully. In short, in a short time. The total amount of chakra of 35 calories should be enough. Krypton Gold is something that never has a bottom line. In the blink of an eye, the 2,600 gold coins disappeared like flowing water. It hurts Natsume to see it. Looking at the remaining 4,440 gold coins, Natsume became more cautious when spending money in the system mall. In the end, after traveling a large circle, also only bought some necessities. Sealing technique? Contract seal, B-level, D 200 gold coins, contract that can block spiritism. Physique? 1000 flame knife, grade B, D 200 gold coins, overbearing knife technique, used with weapons, powerful. A high-level healing Dan D 500 gold coin, can quickly repair any injury, keep it as a whole card. A high-level chakra restores Dan D 500 gold coins, can replenish chakra instantly and keep it as a whole card. A total of 1,400 gold coins were spent. Although expensive, it is still very cost-effective. After all, with these two life-saving pills. Even in a desperate situation, Natsume has the confidence to turn the tables. Of course, nowadays. Look at the entire ninja world. I'm afraid you can count on the palm of your hand the powerful enemies who can really push you to a desperate situation. After the exchange is complete, Natsume did not choose to continue the lottery draw. After all, the last 10 consecutive draw was very lucky. Even the goddess of luck needs to rest after loving herself a lot. It's not the life of the chieftain. Now bite the bullet and do another 10 consecutive draw. I'm afraid I have to lose my underpants. Therefore, Natsume is also planning to save up the remaining 3,040 gold coins. Just in case. Or, wait until one day when one's luck is better, and then give him a 10 consecutive draw. Well. Speaking of which, why does the hot spring water feel a lot cooler? Also, where's the hot spring here? Natsume stretched comfortably and scanned for a week. Only then was a fire stove used to heat the spring water found behind the pool. I see. Art fire escape ho fireball. A large amount of flame sprayed out and poured into the stove. Not for a while. The spring water in the entire pool became hot again, and even a lot of bubbles appeared. And in the bathroom, a large white mist quickly rose. At the same time, a red panda that seemed to have been scalded gradually floated up. After soaking for more than an hour, Natsume came out refreshed and wrapped in a bath towel. And a certain red panda was also brought out. At this time, boom boom boom. There was a knock at the front door. Natsume opened the door. A beautiful woman was standing outside the door, holding a steaming dinner. And the other party is Izumi's mother, Uchiha Hazuki. Her husband and Natsume's father were teammates in the same period, and they have a very good personal relationship. Unfortunately, one died in the Third Ninja World War, and the other died in the night of the Nine Tails Rebellion. Therefore, as a child, when he was in Konoha village, Auntie Hazuki also took good care of Natsume, sending him various foods from time to time. He almost regarded him as his half-son. Aunt Yu, why are you here? I saw that Tang and Ryeo went home, so I knew you must have finished retreat. Based on the time, you must have not had dinner yet? Just make something to eat and bring it to you. The pressure of most of the ethnic group is on you now. You can't treat your body badly. The woman cared softly and handed out the lunchbox. Natsume took the dinner and smelled the tempting aroma of the food, warming her heart. Who said that the Uchiha clan is cruel by nature, bloodthirsty and easy to kill? It's pure fart. And myself, just to protect the kindness and gentleness of this tribe, I did not hesitate to raise the butcher's knife. Thank you, Auntie Yu. Come in and sit down. No need, I have to deliver dinner to the construction team. You can enjoy it. By the way, Kwanmei? Aunt Yu let out a soft cry, and grabbed her daughter Kwanmei who was behind her. Didn't you want to find Natsume for something? After asking, remember to go home early. Don't delay Natsume too much. Okay. Mother. Uchiha Izumi grabbed the corner of her clothes, somewhat cautiously agreed. Sister Kwan, what's the matter with you? Looking at Kwanmei, who was only 13 years old, half a head taller than herself, and often regarded herself as her younger brother when she was a child, and often molested her. Natsume is also exceptionally mild. It was also because of treating the other party as a half-sister, during the night of defection. He deliberately asked his subordinates to kidnap Chuanmei's family. Although, Sister Kwan's original intention is that she doesn't want to leave Konoha, she doesn't want to leave Itachi. Episode 27 Chuanmei's Enlightenment. At this moment, looking at the boy in front of him, looking at the boy he once regarded as his younger brother. A boy who is ready to be protected. Now, it has such a powerful strength. Not only did he lead most of the ethnic group to defect and defect from Maiin village, he even built a new ninja village from scratch. A new home was built for the tribe. How powerful this is. And myself, ever since I became a ninja, I have been abandoned. In terms of work, they are just doing simple tasks such as helping the daimyo's wife take care of pets and helping the officials of the country of fire to move. Fishing all day long, his strength improved slowly. It's really embarrassing. Brother Natsume, Sister Kwan thinks that our family should not defect to Konoha? Natsume asked with a smile while eating happily. It's not easy for my sister Kwan. 5 years old, during the Nine Tails Rebellion, her father died in front of her in order to protect her, and she opened Sharingan. 7 years old, during the school lunch break, he stood up for Itachi who was bullied by the seniors, and fell into a coma. 11 years old, because Itachi stated that as a girl, she shouldn't be a ninja. As a result, the ferret quarreled and broke up unhappy. 12 years old, after Shursui committed suicide, she went to the patriarch's house in the rain to find Itachi. Itachi was not there. Fuyu saw her and said to her, Itachi has no friends, I hope you don't give up Itachi. She said yes. 13 years old, in the gathering of the clan, Itachi was isolated by the hostility of the clan, and a dispute broke out. She is in a dilemma. Finally, genocide night. This sensitive, brave, stubborn, gentle, and delicate girl. But he died in the hands of his lover, and he died with regret. Isn't this a tragedy? Now, what Natsume has done has rewritten this tragedy. But Uchiha Izumi beauty her. The dilemma of being caught between the lover and the family is still not solved. After all, she had always been a staunch Konoha faction before. Her father is a foreign ninja and her mother is an Uchiha. Having lost her loved ones in the turmoil, she also understands the pain suffered by the Konoha people during the Nine Tails Rebellion and the accumulated resentment. She has good talents, but she is not as amazing and brilliant as Shursui and Itachi. In the Uchiha clan, she doesn't have the right to speak. She supports Konoha, but she is powerless in the face of the turbulent rebellious emotions of the whole family. She hoped Itachi could turn everything around, so she begged him to communicate with the tribe again. But Itachi couldn't convince the enemy, so he had to choose another more cruel path. This is the helplessness in the cracks, the sorrow of the weak. In this cruel ninja world, weakness is the original sin. At first, I also thought it was wrong to defect. However, in the few days since I came here, I saw the unprecedented enthusiasm of the clansmen, the knowing smiles of the children, and the vitality. Perhaps defecting to Konoha was not a wrong choice. Then before. The experience of the past few days has also made Kwanmei mature a lot. And the thriving Yenin village has shaken her perception all along. All the vitality here seemed to prove it. Konoha is wrong. Is evil. My own Uchiha clan should have defected long ago. It's time to resist. Natsume glanced at Izumi. Originally, he thought it would take a lot of exercises to convince the other party. Unexpectedly, the changes in the village and the clan had convinced this little girl for herself. In this way, Sister Kwan couldn't let go, so there was only Itachi alone. Then Sister Kwan, are you worried about Itachi now? Brother Natsume, you all know? Uchiha Izumi was startled, her immature cheeks flushed slightly. Natsume pouted. Do I look like such a stupid person? How should I say, Itachi can be considered my cousin. I can still see this. That. Natsume waved his hand. Don't worry. Itachi and the Patriarch will be fine for a while. Because we succeeded in defecting. We threatened Konoha all the time, so Konoha didn't dare to take action against the remaining clansmen in the village. Besides, if it wasn't for this defection, Itachi, I'm afraid he would have raised his butcher's knife against the clansmen. Ah. How come? Itachi. He didn't have much right to choose. He was threatened by Konoha's high-level officials and attacked by family radicals at the same time. Fortunately, if we hadn't managed to escape, he would already be a sinner whose hands were stained with the blood of his people. Kwanmei was stunned. Listening to Natsume's explosive news, she could hardly think. She has always known that being caught between Konoha and the Itachi family is very painful. However, I never thought of it. Konoha would force Itachi to make such a cruel and bloody decision. If Itachi really took that step, he might collapse too. Okay. Sister Kwan, don't think too much about it. What you have to do now is to take good care of Aunt Yu and build our new village well. And, try to become stronger. Only strong enough can protect family members, protect the village. Natsume's words. The pupils of Kwanmei, who was in a daze, gradually cleared up. Yup. If he has enough strength, he can be as strong as Natsume's younger brother. Even if any crisis occurs, you can deal with it calmly, right? At least. Let's become a family, Itachi and Natsume's pillar. I see. Thank you, Natsume. By the way, I will also make targeted contacts and arrangements for the clansmen left behind by Konoha. I will find a way to rescue them all. Ah. Really? Kwanmei was overjoyed, and her eyes lit up. Certainly. Great. Brother Natsume, you are the best. Kwanmei happily approached Natsume and rubbed the younger brother's head. Then, he turned and left happily. Then I'll go back. Eat well. Hey. Sister Kwan, I want to eat chicken teriyaki tomorrow. Okay. Seeing Kwanmei leave happily, Natsume also shook her head with a smile. But he didn't lie to Miss Kwan. In the follow-up, when Konoha forced the remaining Uchiha people to chase and kill himself and others. Rinnegan village, naturally, it is unavoidable to contact the great patriarch Fugaku, Itachi, and others. At that time, of course I have to make good use of it. After all, he wants to destroy Konoha and subvert the entire ninja world. It's not enough to rely on yourself alone. Moreover, with Itachi's talent, even if he didn't experience the night of genocide, it can also shine brightly. Well, let's think about it later. Let's cook first. Aunt Yu's craftsmanship is still as good as ever. Natsume continued to enjoy dinner happily. Soon. He had just finished eating when another message came. The big snake came back with a pair of pockets. After a few minutes, Natsume packed up the tableware and sat cross-legged in the room. In front of him, Do and Rinnegan were kneeling and sitting there, waiting for the verdict to be pronounced. Neither of them tried to escape. Although they don't know, how strong is this young man in front of him? And why can you control the entire ninja village? Even Ashimaru, one of the famous 3 ninjas in the ninja world, can work for him. But there is no doubt that the two of them know that they are by no means opponents of each other. Escape, there is only one dead end. My name is Uchiha Natsume, the head of Rinnegan village. Good evening, both of you? See Natsume-sama. Don't be so stiff and speak up. How is it? Dean Nanoyu, Do. Orochimaru has told you all about the specific situation? How do you feel now? Or, what do you think of Konoha's betrayal? Speak boldly. Here, your safety can be guaranteed. Natsume frowned and asked with interest. Episode 28 Cruel Truth, Subduing the Pharmacist. At this moment, kneeling in front of Natsume. Both Do and Rinnegan have extremely complicated hearts. On the way back and forth, Orochimaru told them all the truth. Including, Danzo uses them, collects information on enemy villages, cuts off the contact between the two, deceives Nanoyu with false photos, etc. Even in the end, in order to eliminate the danger, the despicable means of letting the two kill each other is not hesitant. If Natsume hadn't stopped in time. I am afraid that Do has accidentally killed his most beloved Dean, and thus collapsed. To this end. Both of them were so horrified that they could hardly believe it. But, think about it carefully. This is indeed more in line with the dark style of the roots of Konoha. What's more, all other evidences have also proved that it is not a lie, but the cruel truth. For a moment, the two people who knew the truth almost collapsed. They are for each other, for the orphanage. Pay so much. He did not hesitate to risk his life, sneaked into the enemy's village, and continued to obtain information. In the end, he lived in a conspiracy, a deception, and a betrayal. How could it not be hopeless to become two abandoned children who were destined long ago? Me. Thinking back to the past, Zongzong clenched his fists angrily, but he couldn't say anything. And compared to the young Pocket, the experienced Nanoyu is much calmer. But he also closed his eyes with pain in his heart, feeling extremely remorseful. I was wrong. I should have known earlier, it's still that dark, cold, unscrupulous place at all. I shouldn't have hoped for it, for Danzo. It was I who killed Do. This, wandering priestess, blamed herself while complaining. Crystal tears fell from the corners of her eyes. It's hard to imagine that this cruel ninja world can force such a strong and caring maiden to cry alive. What a sin! Don't blame the Dean, we were all deceived. The Dean is also innocent, they are all those bastards of Gen. They deserve to die. Do hurriedly argued, gritting his teeth in resentment. Do you think that the darkness of Root is limited to this? Natsume said again. Nayu and Do raised their heads suddenly, feeling a little bad in their hearts. Let me tell you. Even the orphanage you risked your life to protect. You couldn't escape Danzo's clutches. All the young children in the orphanage who have ninja talent will be secretly kidnapped by him and trained in secret. Mist Hidden Village's blood fog policy, have you heard of it? Danzo is imitating that model, allowing those collected orphan ninjas to fight each other and grow up. Gradually obliterate their humanity, in order to become the most powerful ninja in his hands, ruthless, the sharpest knife. For a while, Natsume told the more bloody and cruel truth. It was like two sledgehammers, hitting the hearts of the two of them fiercely. The hearts of the two trembled so violently that they almost vomited blood. They never expected that Danzo would extend his claws into the orphanage. For other children, such brutal training is implemented. How could it be? Donzing-sama didn't promise so, he. Nayu covered his eyes and murmured, almost collapsed. And the already frantic Pocket suddenly stood up, roaring incomparably angrily. Bastard! How can this be? Why do you want to attack the orphanage? Those beasts, I'm going to kill them. Obviously, this absurd feeling of a rare person, an important thing being trampled on secretly is indeed enough to make people collapse. What do you want to do? Fight back alone? Confront the roots? Confront Konoha, one of the 5 hidden villages? Just rely on your chakra scalpel? How many Jnin can you beat? 1? Or half? Natsume asked loudly. Lingdo was shocked suddenly, froze in place, blushing. What the other party said was good. With his current strength, it would be extremely difficult for him to face any Jonin. Not to mention competing against the entire Konoha. There is no doubt that the egg hits the stone. Do. Sit down, don't be rude. No, Nayu, who had stabilized his mood a little bit, hurriedly let out a light snort and stopped his Pocket. This is in someone else's village, and his life is still in the hands of this young patriarch, so he can't be rude and seek death. I'm not reconciled. Kneeling weakly on the ground, hands drooping, eyes full of despair. In this way, the room was silent for 10 minutes. Natsume also finished a pot of tea slowly. Give the two of them enough time to calm down. After a long time, Nonayu asked quietly. Natsume-sama. Is what you said true? Konoha is there. And you were born in the root. As long as you go back and check, it is not difficult to verify these claims, right? Nanea was silent for a moment. Then why did your lord save us? Why did you tell us this information? What exactly do you want? Looking at the blonde-haired priestess in front of her, Natsume also admired slightly. After entering the state, this experienced Yunyu Miko is really outstanding. Ever since, Natsume also confessed directly. Follow me. I don't need you to sneak into a hidden village, and I don't need you to be dangerous spies. You just need to use your strengths, make good use of your medical ninjutsu, and treat the people in Yenin village. How? He paused, feeling a little moved. The frightening espionage career of the past few years has really tortured him crazy. But he still quickly glanced at the dean beside him, and decided to advance and retreat with the dean Nonayu. And Nonayu was also silent. I have to admit that Natsume's proposal is indeed very tempting. Any normal ninja would not want to live in a dangerous espionage career forever. What's more, they have no way out. Once back to Konoha. Knowing that they are still alive, Danzo will definitely not let them go. Moreover, with the same hard work, this Yenin village is better than the dark and bloodthirsty Konoha roots, right? Yes. But I have one condition. Nonayu plucked up his courage and prepared to add another condition. About the orphanage? Don't worry, I'll let someone build a new orphanage in the village. Also, I will also find a way to take over the remaining orphans in the Konoha orphanage. Are you satisfied now? In order to subdue these two people, Natsume did his best. After offering a lot of chips one after another, this wandering priestess, Nonayu couldn't find any reason to refuse. Even, can't help but doubt. For the other party to throw away such a capital, could it be that they have other evil intentions? For example, thinking about yourself or something. Bah. What are you thinking about? How old is this kid? It seems that I haven't made a big deal yet, so I shouldn't have that kind of evil thoughts. Even if there is. It is also very cost-effective to take one for myself and exchange pockets for a bright future with such an orphan. After reading this, Yinayu also readily agreed. Thank you, sir, I am willing to stay. I would too. Very good. Natsume nodded in satisfaction. The village is undergoing major renovations, so it's difficult to arrange accommodation. You two can live with me first, and there are separate rooms at the back. After the new orphanage is built, you can move there. Thanks. Do and Nanoya, thank you again. It was also the first time for them to meet such a kind superior. And the other party is only a teenager in his early 10 years old. This Yenin village is really amazing. Due to more than a day's journey, Nonayu and Do were also extremely hungry and tired. Natsume also didn't harsh on these two precious medical ninjas who were finally subdued. Let a few clansmen lead them down, prepare some food for them, and change their clothes. For the rest, let's talk about it the next day. For such a miserable person who was also bullied by Konoha, those Uchiha tribesmen were also very enthusiastic, and there was a feeling of sympathy for each other. They were very warmly entertained by Nonayu, which made both of them a little embarrassed. At the same time, Natsume just watched the two of them go to rest and return to the room. That elusive, with a dark smile Orochimaru twisted again, penetrated the wall, and suddenly appeared in this living room. If you don't go through the door next time, I will chop you into 9 pieces for sure. Then bake them and feed them to mooncakes. Natsume glanced at Orochimaru and warned angrily. Don't be angry, Natsume-sama. It seems that you have subdued those two people? None of your business? TSK. Those are two good talents. What a great experimental subject, what a waste. Orochimaru squinted his eyes and said regretfully. Bah. If you have a fart, let it go, if you don't have a fart, get out. Don't get excited. I'm here to tell you good news. What news? The intercolumn cells are ready to start transplanting anytime. Hearing this, Natsume was also shocked suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he became excited. Transplant intercolumnar cells to obtain almost eternal kaleidoscope sharing eyes. I have waited too long for this day. Episode 29 Intercolumnal Cell Transplantation, Double Backhand. What are interstitial cells? To put it bluntly, they are immortal human cells. A supergenetic cell with strong vitality, regenerative ability, and natural affinity. It can be called the panacea oil in the ninja world. Once mastered, it can greatly improve the various functions of the ninja's body, allowing you to have twice or several times the normal strength. Moreover, this is only for ordinary ninjas. For the Uchiha ninja who owns the Sharingan of the blood succession limit. Transplantation of intercolumn cells can greatly optimize the side effects of using Sharingan. Just like Obito, after transplanting intercolumnar cells, he can use his own kaleidoscopic Sharingan almost unlimitedly. After all, to put it bluntly, the power of Sharingan and Jugen cells both come from the Sage of the Six Paths, and the two powers come from the same vein. It is no surprise that the cells between the pillars can perfectly control Sharingan and eliminate the side effects of Sharingan. And this is exactly what Natsume has been pursuing. Are you sure you're ready? Of course, even though I took a long trip with Natsume-sama these 2 days. But my avatar has stayed in the laboratory to adjust and test the injection medicine. Now, everything is ready. Just wait for you to move to the laboratory, and you can open it. Orochimaru said respectfully. But just looking at his slightly trembling fingertips is enough to prove how excited this guy is and how much he looks forward to it. Okay, let's go. Natsume, who was also looking forward to it, didn't hesitate, leaving behind a shadow clone. Then he left the village with Orochimaru, and came to the underground test base located in Nin village. Soon, the two walked into the laboratory for transplant preparation. In the laboratory, a young boy with white hair was standing. Master Orochimaru. Junma-Lu greeted Orochimaru respectfully. Oh. This is Junmaro, one of my assistants. I know, the holder of the bone vein of the blood successor of the Kagaya clan, right? Natsume said lightly, with the same look on his face. Orochimaru was secretly startled. It never occurred to him that this brat Natsume could see through Junma-Lu's details at a glance. Or, did he plant a traitor here? Already know this place well? Impossible. Ha ha ha. Natsume-kun has good eyesight. This child is indeed the legacy of the Kagaya clan. Coincidentally, he's only 10 years old, about the same age as you. Originally, I wanted to introduce you to Natsume-kun earlier. At this moment, Natsume has no energy to care about other things. Responding directly. Let him go out. He doesn't need to know what's next. Alright, Junma-Lu, you go down. Orochimaru waved his hand, signaling Junmaro to back down. Obey. Soon, the white-haired boy withdrew. Although he didn't understand why Master Orochimaru, whom he admired so much, would be so enthusiastic and respectful to a kid who was about his age. But he is very clear that if he should not know, he must not ask more questions. Can we start? Sure. However, Natsume-kun, you have to choose the transplant level first. The strong activity of the cells between the columns makes them extremely erosive. If the transplantation fails, there is a high probability of death. But even if the transplantation is successful, there will still be some visions. It's like pale skin, horns on the head, human face on the chest, and so on. If you are transplanting a part of your body like Danzo, I have an experimental body that can help you reduce the risk and control the vision only in the transplanted part. But you are not a limb transplant. You can only use the injection plan to transplant. Therefore, I prepared 4 doses of cell injections this time, low, medium, high, and very high. The content of intercolumn cells increases sequentially. The higher the cell content of the injection, the better the effect, but the higher the risk. And the extremely high dose may help you master mutant. It depends on which one you choose. Natsume frowned and asked with some displeasure. What is the probability of alienation? 10%, 30%, 50%, 100%. What kind of ratio is it that can guarantee perfect control of Sharingan? High and extremely high doses should be guaranteed. Choose high dose bar. Natsume made a decision. In this world, not everyone can easily obtain powerful power through the system like myself. Although these experiments of Orochimaru are terrifying, they can be regarded as an alternative manifestation of talent. Looking at the ninja world, how many people yearn for power? Not to mention taking a little risk. Even at the price of death, countless people are willing to flock to it. Certainly. There are countless people, not including myself. Natsume would not inject that extremely high DA-DOS with a 100% probability of alienation. With a 50% chance, you can take a gamble. After all, it is very important to get the Kaleidoscope Sharingan with unlimited battery life. But Natsume didn't want to change his appearance drastically for this. He was only in his early 10 years old, and he was quite handsome. In the future, there will be a lot of beautiful female ninjas waiting for me to disaster. Bah, it's pursuit. If you are forced to alienate and go out with a white face, it won't scare people. In short, the immortal body power brought by the intercolumn cells is what I want. But you can't lose your handsome face either. Otherwise, it really won't work. The big deal is to spend a high price on your own and go to the system mall to exchange for eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan. It is good. Natsume-kun, please lie down. Next, leave it to me. Orochimaru pointed to the operating table in the center of the laboratory and urged excitedly. Those red eyes, those gasping nostrils. At this moment, Ant Snake is almost indistinguishable from the mad scientists in the movie. Just looking at it makes the scalp tingle and the heart tremble. For this reason, Natsume of course did not lie on the operating table immediately. Instead, cast shadow clone technique again first. A shadow clone was separated and handed over the artifact, Kuan Dao, at the waist to this clone. Keep him on full alert. It also means that once the body is in danger, the avatar can kill. And this is just the first line of insurance. Looking at Natsume's avatar holding the artifact, Orochimaru couldn't help but twitch his eyes. I felt a little chilly in my heart. But soon, he discovered that Natsume, the brat, had much more than that behind him. Next moment, Natsume's body lay on the operating table. Without further ado, another ninjutsu was violently launched. Spiritualization Art DD is on. For a moment. Inside Natsume's body, a translucent phantom of the soul suddenly flew out. And quietly floating in mid-air, watching Orochimaru. And this incredible scene. Orochimaru was taken aback again. Soul ninjutsu. It's still a very high-level kind. Natsume-sama, what a good idea. Are you so worried about me? Orochimaru clicked his tongue and exclaimed. In the depths of the pupils, there was also a strong fear. You know, he is not afraid of any physical attacks now. Even if his body was dismembered, he still couldn't die. But the only thing I'm afraid of is this rare soul ninjutsu. After all, one's soul will not be reborn from the skin. Once it is obliterated, it is really gone. Therefore, he never thought of it. This kid Natsume has actually mastered a soul-like ninjutsu that restrains him so much. It's really hidden. It seems that I have to give up my little thoughts first. Don't come up with any bad ideas. Let's get started. Natsume's avatar at the side urged. In fact, the reason why Natsume redeemed this rare S-rank soul ninjutsu from the beginning. In addition to preparing to use it against Brother Tuzi. It is prepared to use it to guard against Orochimaru at this time. After all, no one knows better than him how obsessed Ant Snake, a research madman, is with Sharingan. If you really don't take any precautions, lie directly on it and let Dashuin test it. He guarantees that the other party will have 100 ways to kill him quietly. And now, the double protection measures are here. One of them is soul ninjutsu that is enough to threaten the life of Orochimaru. Thinking about it, he should put away those evil thoughts. At any time, Natsume will never be so stupid as to put his own life and death in the hands of others. In short, my body, you can fuck it whatever you want. My soul is watching right next to you. If you really fucked up my body, you wouldn't be able to live. Be buried with me. This is the prevention mechanism that Natsume left behind. Just ask if you are afraid? Well, here we go. Orochimaru wiped the dense sweat between his brows, restraining all dissatisfaction. Quickly began to operate the transplant operation for Natsume honestly. Episode 30 The strength has skyrocketed, and the Sharingan is boundless. At this moment, in the dark underground test base, the crazy Orochimaru was surrounding the operating table, frantically operating on Natsume's body. And Natsume, whose soul came out of the body by the technique of spiritualization, has been staring at the side all the time. Without the body, the sensitivity of the soul to time is much lower. Natsume couldn't estimate exactly how much time had passed. But come to think of it, it's already daylight outside. In this way, time passed by every minute and every second. Transplant surgery continues. Finally, I don't know how long it took. Orochimaru in front of the operating table laughed suddenly. Ha ha ha. I guessed right. That's it, that's it. I see. The intercolumn cells can not only alleviate the backlash of Sharingan, but the Sharingan can also prevent the active erosion of intercolumn cells. This column is thin. The power of cells and Sharingan really complement each other. It's no wonder that most of my previous experiments of transplanting intercolumn cells failed. It turns out that it lacks the power to share Sharingan. Orochimaru laughed suddenly. It's like going crazy. How to inhibit the active erosion of the intercolumnar cells on the living body has always been a nearly unsolvable problem. Once, he thought that using young children, relying on the strong vitality and adaptability of children, could effectively resist the erosion of intercolumnar cells. In the end, he failed. Among the dozens of experimental subjects, only Yamato survived by chance. Then, he conducted many experiments. In the end, he could only rely on the special physique of faith, by inactivating most of the activity of the intercolumn cells. It was only then that the cells between the columns were successfully transplanted and a right arm was made for Danzo. However, that is only a semi-finished product. Although it has a certain ability, it is far from being able to compare with the powerful and complete intercolumnar cells. At that time, Orochimaru thought it was a fluke. But now it seems that only the combination of Jujin cells and Sharingan is the perfect fusion. Even ordinary Sharingan is slightly inferior. Only the extremely rare and powerful Kaleidoscope Sharingan can truly resist the erosion of the intercolumn cells and form a perfect balance with this force. After a few minutes, the transplant is officially over. Natsume lifted the spiritualization technique, allowing the soul to return to the body safely. And as soon as he returned, he jumped up. Pushing aside Orochimaru, he came to the mirror next to the laboratory and took a picture. I hurriedly checked to see if there was any abnormal change in my appearance. Fortunately, the complexion did not turn white. There are no horns on the head. Hashirama's face didn't protrude from his chest either. Everything is normal. Calling D.D. Natsume breathed a sigh of relief. Afterwards, he began to carefully examine the changes in his body. The first feeling is that I am hard. Of course, not that hard anymore. And the whole body became hard. With the strong activity of intercolumn cells, his bones, meridians, muscles, strength, speed, etc. have all been greatly improved. It is conservatively estimated that it has doubled or tripled at least. Don't underestimate these 2 or 3 times. Although Natsume's physique is no better than those ninjas who specialize in physical arts in Meitikai. But it is definitely not inferior to ordinary elite nin. Ordinary ninjas want to increase their physique by 2 or 3 times out of thin air, without years of hard training. It is simply delusional. And this mighty intercolumnar cell. Just for a moment, one surpasses the years of penance of others. Moreover, this is only the transplanted cell capacity. From this point alone, it is enough to get a glimpse. God of Ninja, Senju Hashirama with a nearly perfect immortal body, how powerful it must be. No wonder, just his cells are enough to be used as a panacea by future generations. In addition to physical enhancement, Natsume also discovered that with the blessing of sufficient cell activity, his total chakra has also increased by leaps and bounds. Fully doubled. From 35 calories to 70 calories. However, this is also normal. After all, chakra is essentially the product of the combination of power extracted from the cells of the whole body and spiritual power. As the activity of one's own cells increases, the total amount of chakra will naturally increase. But what really excited Natsume was, he immediately spent another 100 gold coins to exchange for 1 card of chakra in the system. It turns out, my total chakra has actually increased by 2 cards. It became 72 cards. In other words, no matter how much chakra I exchanged in the future, it would be doubled. Good guy. The intercolumn cells of emotion brought me a permanent chakra doubling buff. This buff is also great. I only transplanted a few intercolumnar cells, and the effect was so heaven-defying. In the future, when I have saved enough gold coins, I can exchange the complete fairy body for it. Then it must be against the sky? Now, Natsume finally understood. Why did the first generation of Hokage Senju Hashirama turn on the true thousands of hands, and with a single slap, he could pinch such a powerful kyubi in his hand like a chicken? Compared with that guy's ocean-like chakra reserve, the chakra of 9 tails can only be regarded as a small lake, right? Of course, the improvement of physique, chakra, etc. is just incidental. What Natsume cares most about is the perfection brought by the cells between the columns to her kaleidoscopic Sharingan. This is the most important thing. Next moment. The pupil power is running, and the red light suddenly appears. The all-encompassing, kaleidoscopic Sharingan appeared instantly. Orochimaru was so frightened that he quickly looked away, not daring to look at Natsume's Sharingan. And this time, Natsume, who opened the kaleidoscopic Sharingan, also obviously feel very relaxed, very carefree. There is no longer the burning pain caused by the side effects of Sharingan that you need to work hard to resist. It's like, even if the kaleidoscopic Sharingan is turned on all the time, there will be no burden at all. The intercolumnar cells transplanted on my body perfectly suppressed the side effects of Sharingan. This feeling is great. Starting today. For a long time. You don't have to worry anymore, you will become blind because of excessive use of Sharingan. Open the infinite kaleidoscope. Natsume looked at his hands and subconsciously squeezed his fists. This soaring sense of power and the surging pupil's force. It makes him want to play Susanoo. But looking around at Ant Snake's small laboratory, it is estimated that once Suzuwa is opened, the whole place will be scrapped. Ever since, I had no choice but to suppress this impulse for the time being. Master Natsume? Are you satisfied? Orochimaru on the side rubbed his hands and asked with a flattering smile. At this moment, no one knows better than him. How powerful is this 10-year-old boy in front of him? A variety of high-level ninjutsu, strong physical strength, unparalleled power of artifacts, plus this pair of boundless, Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Also, the most dreadful age. Only 10 years old. It was already so scary. When he really grows up to be 20 or 30 years old, how powerful will he be? I'm afraid, when the whole Konoha is added up, it won't be enough for him to fight alone, right? Unfortunately. Such a perfect body cannot be taken away from me. What a pity. Orochimaru exclaimed while regretting. Nice. Feels good. It's a good thing you didn't change your mind. Natsume applauded frankly. The advanced transplantation technology of Orochimaru is indeed worthy of recognition. Of course, if you are not prepared. It's hard to say whether the other party will be so peaceful. Master Natsume, do you feel any side effects? If so, please let me know. It can also accumulate some experience for my subsequent experiments. Orochimaru asked sincerely. Putting aside those bad thoughts, he is still very dedicated on the road of experimentation and scientific research. Well, there is indeed a little side effect. Although these transplanted intercolumnar cells have assimilated with my body, their activity and erosion are still very strong. Normally, there would be no problem. However, if I run out of chakra, I'm afraid it will be difficult to control these cells. By then, these cells will probably erode my body substantially. Natsume pondered for a moment before expressing his feelings. It's normal for this kind of power obtained through transplantation to have some side effects. Only. For others, this may be a big trouble. After all, after a big battle, no one can recover depleted chakra quickly. But for Natsume, he has a lot of chakra to reply Dan, so he doesn't need to worry about this at all. Even if the chakra is exhausted, just take 2 Dawn. There is no need to worry about not being able to suppress these intercolumn cells, it is impossible to give them a chance to backfire.